You know, but once when the cops came over and they saw this board that said Drug Cartel and Shabana Azmi, we had a lot of explaining to do.
Exactly, this was the conversation at which I failed so miserably.
A lot of collaboration, sometimes a lot of push and pull also, you know, because they're not doing good things.
Right.
But you're still with them.
You know, more often than not, I mean, you'll see that the acting is good now.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Hindu.
Hi.
Hi.
Shabana ji joked at the trailer launch that this was almost a family call and you know she had no say. Was that really it, or did it take a bit of convincing to get her to play Sheila in Dabba Cartel?
I don't think she even listened to the pitch when I was talking to her. I really don't think she was listening. It was a Zoom call and it was a 5-minute conversation. I think she knew that it was happening because during the lockdown I had told Javed Uncle and Shabana that I was working on this. And Javed Uncle had suggested that Shabana be a part of the cast. I don't think he had any inclination that she was already someone that we wanted. But she wasn't really, I mean, it was like literally was like a 5-minute conversation. I think before the phone call, she'd already made up her mind that she wanted to do it.
Right.
So she listened politely and did,
And saved all the questions for Hitesh.
She saved all of it for Hitesh, which I'm very grateful for.
What were your first conversations with her like, and breaking down the arc of Sheila for her?
Exactly, this was the conversation at which I failed so miserably. It was not funny. That's why we prepared. I got to meet Shabana ji and all that. So like we are having discussions and about her character and her backstory and like so many other things. She asked something which is absolutely unrelated, that do I eat stuff like this, do I do this, and so her first 3 questions I had no answer. You know, and I'm trying to sound intelligent.
Out of syllabus.
Yeah, absolutely out of syllabus. उसका कोई पढ़ाई किया ही नहीं है. तो मुझे लगा बहुत जूते पड़ेंगे. तो इससे पहले पढ़ें तो मुझे और पढ़ाई कर लेनी चाहिए. So then because that one, you know, is working with her, and which is, I find it very exciting. So then you're always on your toes. You're always on your toes. Even when we were shooting, and this is a factual thing, I'm not saying it because she's Shabana ji. Every single day of the shoot with her, you say cut, she's standing there and she's mumbling something. Then you go close and she's doing her lines till the time you restart. The entire day from morning 9 to 10, every single shoot day. That kind of commitment I have not seen in any other actor.
Right. It's also delightful. I think after Mandi, this is most badass character I think someone's written for her. Like, I'll count Mandi in there, the way she has to run an entire house, and after that this. And was it thrilling to just have a, you know, we see great actors late in their career, you want to see them in roles where they're having fun and where they are, you know, really the taskmasters of a complex, you know, system of stories and characters. Was that a joy to have her do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's a fantastic performer.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really heartening to see that actors like her are really, you know, like you're saying, at a different stage in their career.
Yeah.
Getting such meaty and weighty roles to do here, where, you know, like they're not just like relegated to being the mother of somebody or the father of somebody or just the neighbor who's, you know, like for 3 scenes.
Correct.
It's really nice to see, and honestly speaking, we should be, I mean, you know, after thinking about it, I genuinely feel that like OTT, streaming, has had a huge role to play in this, because it's given you the canvas on which you can like really like paint with a way big broader brush. Seriously. Than you could in film, you know, and people have, I guess, just from your programming of how you experience a film or you experience a series, you have more patience when you're watching something, you know, on OTT. You just do.
Yeah.
You've committed yourself to 8 hours or 9 hours of viewing, so you have the time to let characters play out in a certain kind of way. And that has given opportunity to, and hopefully this will translate into the way films are also made. You know, because if somebody watches Shabana in this, there's no reason why a role like this or a part like this should not be written for someone like her in a film.
Correct.
You know, because I mean, it's equally as enjoyable. You know, so I hope that does happen. But I mean, it's a pleasure to work with anyone of her caliber, and I'm really glad that she did this.
Right.
But she wasn't. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to think that she was cast in this, or I had decided that because when this idea first started, Drug Cartel and Shabana Azmi were the 2 things that were written on a whiteboard. And I think a lot of people will assume that it's because she's, you know, my mother-in-law and it's a family thing, but it actually wasn't like that at all. I mean, yes, of course I was dating Farhan at the time, but very few people know that when I was younger, I used to have my only connection really to Indian cinema was a video cassette that I had of Masoom,
Oh, lovely.
which I used to watch, and then I used to finish watching it, and I would wait for it to rewind, and then I would start it again and watch it again. And I think I watched that film over 400 or 500 times. So I knew that I wanted to work with her. It just so happened that she ended up being family, which was, I don't know which one is a coincidence, but it's that was more the reason why she had to be in the show.
Right. Right.
You know, but when the cops came over and they saw this board that said drug cartel and Shabana Azmi, we had a lot of explaining to do. Like, she's just working on her show, we promise.
Maybe there's a secret history. In fact, there's a scene where, you know, her character comes clean about her past, and she said, I used to work for this gangster called Salim Mirza. My head is like, okay, you know, these are the parallel cinema gods what she worked with. Like, I used to work with Sham Benegal. Like, if this was this was a cinema version of this, it's like, you know, now you kids learn from me, like, as an actor.
That's pretty cool. Actually,
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
thought of it that way. That's quite
Right.
cool.
Monica, I must ask, this script had been development from the pandemic onwards. Did the time also afford you guys to add a lot of texture, which I was really enjoying, the Maharashtrian-ness of it, the more lived-in-ness of it. There are the prestigious cartel shows that we see around the world, but those are about hard-edged criminals. This is more about housewives and how they get ensnared into this world. Tell us about the journey of this developing and all these textures sort of pouring into the world of Dabba Cartel.
Yeah, you know, the world is very interesting and where it's set and all the different strands of society that it brings together. So that was really, you know, there was a lot of rich setting to play with, and the way Shibani and team were writing, and then later Hitesh joined in as a director. I think the whole journey, there was a lot of, I would say, a lot of collaboration, sometimes a lot of push and pull also. But I think all of it actually, because everyone wanted to make the best version of this very unique story, which is about everyday people suddenly thrown into a crime world, a mother-in-law suddenly,
Right.
leading this whole cartel. So I think very unexpected things that are happening, but you have to look at them as it's normal, you know, because they just hurtle from one thing to another. They don't have time to think, to really say, oh no, you know, this is not something we can do. Something else happens to precipitate something.
Right.
The way it just happens, I think all of us were trying to really come together and make it the most real and yet, you know, exaggerated version of a story.
Right.
So I think for me, that excitement of it being as real in experiencing it and as exaggerated in where all it can take you was the most exciting part. And I think that we really enjoyed the process. We fought a lot together, and I think it is really the result of that. I'm really happy about the show, and I think it should do really well.
Right. Who was the most interesting or difficult, let's say, casting choice for you? Like, you had to get this person, and without whom the character would probably not work. Was there a particular instance like that?
I think maybe Raji was the most difficult for us to kind of
Raji,
cast, I think.
Even Pathak. Raji.
Yeah, Pathak, because it was very different to what was on page, but it worked out so beautifully,
Yeah.
right? It was very different. I mean, we reworked it when we decided that, you know, Gajradra was
because he has
was,
such a quirk to
so we
landing a
added
character.
it. He was supposed to be younger and have a different kind of personality, but we changed it when Gajradra came on board. But I think Raji was the one that we kind of struggled with the
Yeah.
most casting-wise.
Because you needed a
We had a
certain
lot of
vulnerability, innocence, and yet
and,
someone who will.
How did it eventually fall into place?
A lot of discussions,
bunch of
lot of
options and
debates
then,
and auditions, and I think we were all like, you know, debating or. So it took a lot of time for us to be just convinced, but I think eventually, I think it's an audition that just.
No,
did the
and
trick.
also, if I remember correctly, I had seen Maharaj. We were going to do Maharaj, and she had done a great job in that, and so
Shalini Pandey.
yeah, Shalini Pandey, and then I think we auditioned her, and
Yeah.
everyone.
And I don't think
really
she was
loved
very
her.
sure that she wanted to do it, you know, because
She had just done a film.
She had just
with
done a film,
Virif
so
and
she didn't know much about. We were running out of time. It was all happening so quickly with so much conversation, and I think she's like the happiest person today.
Right.
She's just like really thrilled that she's done it, which is great.
Lovely.
And she's wonderful. She's really, really good in the show. Yeah, she's so good. All of them.
Actually, all of
so
them,
good. They're
Jyotika.
all so good. I don't think we can imagine anybody else playing these parts now. You know.
and Nimisha.
Sai Tamankar is hilarious, I think.
Yeah, she's so good.
The scene where she looks at her colleague and goes like, "Hey, gori leg." I'm like, just
Yeah.
No, but everyone's really good. And you know, in all honesty, and this is an amazing thing for everybody in the industry that's making any kind of work. The floor has lifted on acting here.
yeah.
You know, just that you cannot. Bad performances are becoming very, very rare now.
Yeah.
Like earlier, they were very common. You know, you had to like search for good performances.
Yeah.
Now, just that level of acting in general has become really, really like good. You know, so it's just finding the right person who fits the part.
Yeah.
But more often than not, people who come to audition do great auditions, but they may not be good for what you're wanting.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know,
Something
but they'll
recently
be-
that blew your mind, a performance on OTT, in Indian OTT?
that blew my mind. What did we watch recently? A Black Warrant. Yeah, I loved.
Oh my God.
You know,
Zahan.
yeah, and Anurag. in it.
Yeah, Anurag
you
is
know, Rahul
fantastic.
Bhatt in it. I mean, all
Yeah.
of them. Yeah,
All
they're
of
all
them.
so good.
So good.
You know, like
So
I mean,
good.
and that's one such show. You know, but because we were just talking about it, like I really, really like that show very much.
Right.
But just all in all, anything that you watch, you know,
Yeah.
more often than not, I mean, you'll see that the acting is good now,
Right.
which is just a wonderful thing that you have so many actors here to like kind of like reach out to and pick from now if you're doing something.
Which also just helps with the storytelling and.
But I also feel, you know, the level of writing has also picked up
Yeah.
so much. I mean, I can't imagine a scene between Sai and her father in a regular mainstream film.
Yeah.
Just the way they are talking, the relationship. It's just, you
Or
know,
that the fact that he cooks the same food for her
yeah,
every day.
for her every day.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I think it really brings people closer to
Right.
their own lives. It's really charming.
Right. So Vince Gilligan, who's the creator of I think the greatest cartel show we have ever seen, which is Breaking Bad and later Better Call Saul. Late in his career, he's said this a couple of times that he wants to write more good guys. He said that when he started out, TV was all full of good guys, so he wrote someone like Walter White, and now he feels TV is all full of bad people or complex people or people involved in crime, and now he feels that we need to have more inspiring moral characters. I personally, I don't know what I feel about his analysis, but I want to hear your thoughts that is it important to give moral underpinnings to characters, or do you guys believe that, you know, there is a thrill and a chase when you watch a drug show that, you know, makes you think that is very cool. So, while writing or developing Dabba Cartel, was it important to give a justification or a moral sort of a compass to characters? Was that playing on your mind?
I mean, yes, because you know you're not taking women who are from a world of crime. I think the difference with this story is that there's a layering of emotions, and I think you can ask Hitesh this yourself. But I think what Hitesh has successfully done is he's managed to show their journey with the layered emotions, with the resolve, with where they start, where they get to, why they do what they do, why they need to do what they do. Is this the only choice I have? Why am I doing this? And you have to be able to look at it this way with these particular characters, because you are taking them into a grayer world. And so when they're from this white world, or they have a little bit of grey and they move more on to the other side, it's really important to show that transition of feeling. And the choices that they make. And so motivation comes into it, morality comes into it, but all the while you root for these women, you
Right.
feel for them, you're already invested in their journey, so you want them to come out on the other side. So I think it's much tougher than if they're just the good guys,
Right.
you know, because they're not doing good things,
Right.
but you're still with them. And I think that's a hard story to tell.
Farhan, your take on this, you produced something like, let's say, a crime show which was all out there, like, you know, there's no morality to that world. So how do you process this?
Yeah, I see it as storytelling. You know, I mean, the fact is that, you know, in all honesty, no matter what we write and no matter what we do, fiction will never match up to fact. The things that happen in the world outside, sometimes you read and you can't believe it. And you feel like if I make a film with this scene, nobody will believe me. We've all seen
That's so
stories
true.
like this. So, I mean, the thing is that as nothing that we do to be sensational, or are trying to be disruptive in some kind of way, so that, you know what I mean, we are engaging with a guy who, or a person, or a, who's come to us with an idea or with a script, and do we want to kind of tell this story because it's engaging us, so if it engages you, that's all you're going to expect from the other person, and that's what you're going to take from it. I mean, storytelling of any kind, is about just engaging with your audience and having some kind of human response.
Right.
Whether it's empathy, whether it's understanding, whether it's repulsion,
Correct.
whatever it may be, from the audience, you're wanting to get some human emotion out of them,
Right.
which is the idea of sharing this experience with them, and that's really what it is.
Right.
Well, like Hitesh said, that when Shabana came onto the project and asked a million questions, when Hitesh came onto the project, it was just question after question after question after question. And it was like we were just running out of answers at one point, because it's such a deep dive, right? You've got to do it justice. So you should actually ask him this question, because I think for him, no? You want to answer?
Yeah.
He's forgotten the question
हाँ
now.
अब मेरे को याद नहीं है.
मैं पूछ रहा था about giving these characters moral justifications in a crime show. Was that important to you to justify?
I think the more
circumstance?
nuanced a character is, the more complex they are, the better it aids to the storytelling process. Whether it's a crime drama, or it's a family drama, or it's a comedy also. The more to unidimensional the characters would be, I think the lesser the story will have flavor. So I think that same thing personally I would apply here. The characters with strong morals also, but if their characters are complex, they will make for great characters.
Right.
So I think the grayer they are, the interesting it becomes.
Right. Monica, I know the Narcos Thane bit is a throwaway funny line there, but it made me wonder, would you have ideas of spin-offs of some of Netflix's great international titles here? And have there been conversations to do stuff like that, where you have a parallel spin-off of, let's say, a great show in India?
She's not allowed to tell you that.
If a great idea comes along, why not? But I think increasingly we are living in a world where stories are traveling all over in the original language, with their original cultural context and backdrop. So I think making remakes is not that easy anymore. And especially if I just look at Netflix, 70% of the consumption happens in subs and dubs on Netflix globally, which means Indian stories are going to so many countries. It means the Latin American stories are coming here. Korean is traveling all over. And people are actually loving the nuance of culture, and I think that's something beautiful that streaming has. It's like the perfect confluence of tech and creativity, and it's really making the culture travel. So if there is a great story of a spin-off, we'll absolutely do it. But there's so much original stuff coming, and I think that is very exciting for me, because it's just opened up a whole world of possibilities.
Right. Fran, I must ask this. We love you as an actor and also a creative producer, but I've been waiting for you to get back to directing. I have the stars aligned for Gile Sara.
Well, nice pun.
Yes.
No, they haven't yet.
You haven't yet?
They haven't yet.
Do you see that on
what
the
does it say? My Rahu's in my Ketu. Like, what is that? Something
No
happens.
matchmaking yet with the perfect
No,
script.
unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. But I mean, there are there's a time for everything.
We are constantly chasing it. Don't worry,
I'm
we'll
a
do
believer
that.
in that.
Are you optimistic that it will happen on the horizon?
Yeah, no, the thing, I'm optimistic that it'll happen when it has to happen. I don't want to stress my life out about it. I'll find other things to do. And when those things, like you said, when the stars align, it'll come back.
What's interesting to me here is that when you made your debut film and then you kept making improvements to it, and you went back to Amir and he was like, where was the first draft?
Yeah, that's
Is that something like that going through
No.
with Gile
I've
Sara?
learned from that. I've put this file aside. I'll remove it out. Take out that when the time is right, just dust it off and then get going.
Lovely. Great. Thank you so much, guys. All the best.
Thank you
for
so
Dabba.
much.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.